So beautiful. I have ended up having a quite busy day. As I've mentioned before, I am involved with some various projects regarding the Megillah, and the numbering project is done. But right now, I am trying to quickly organize all of the edits that have been submitted to be fixed before the 2026 final edition of Day of Greenleaf comes out. Super excited about that. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I am happy to have expended my energy in these areas. But I know that I have not been very present with you fully and with social media in general. So I do apologize about that. But it is for a really good cause, and I'm really excited to be a part of what the Lord and Lady are doing in the world today. So at 5 p.m., in the description box, I wrote the information about the Zoom meeting. We'll be having a Zoom prayer meeting. Sister Jennifer's Temple of the Blue Rose prayer group is taking place on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. So anyone can jump on that once. The preferable format is for everybody to, share their own prayer. We go around the group and everybody shares and prays for their own prayer requests. But last week, a few people didn't show up, and I ended up leading the prayer meeting and being the one that had to I essentially ended up being the only one that prayed. But yeah, that's okay. It's good practice for me for the future, for the things that I'm going to be doing with my future church here in Shasta, that not only will be physically here, but broadcast to the world. I won't be leaving you out of it. Even if you can't come to Mount Shasta, I'm going to be continuing doing what I've already been doing the Sunday kind of preaching thing for quite some time. It just needs to be a little bit more formalized. And I'd love to be able to do some of that stuff here in the park so that people can just come over and join us. But we'll see. It would be really cool to have a temple space, even when we read in the Megillah, it's often at people's houses that are converted into meeting spaces for the group to gather. And yeah, I'd love for any of those opportunities to be presented. I've mentioned before about one of the specific buildings downtown that would be really awesome for a vegan cafe, restaurant, bookstore, the church space, the vegan community meeting center. So yeah, who knows what will happen. I'm not sure if it would be the divine's plan for that to work out, because of the fact that we're already in this time of the sixth trumpet, and perhaps that outreach might be the monetary expenditure for that outreach might be better suited in a different way, like buying like more small plots of land and starting some food forests on there, or yeah, having just a few different locations that are ready to go for those beautiful souls that are aligned with the holy work and ready to make it happen when things I have to stop saying when, because the future isn't set in stone. Of course, the powers that be are really trying to drive us towards one outcome, towards their new world order, towards that. When we read in the book of Enoch, Holy Enoch, in the Holy Megillah, it describes the blessed future that we could have if we are, the default path that humanity is set on. When Abraham and Sarah planted that seed, everything from that seed was in line with Yah's way, which is the expansion of existence, consciousness, and bliss. So the humans, our flesh, so to speak, was of a higher vibration. It was more light, and it didn't need to die. We were these beings that could just live for forever and ever, and then ascend when it was time. And even the animals were of a higher vibration than we are today. That seed that was planted of creation, has been counteracted with the negative spiral, which was always a potential, right? When we talk, we I guess we haven't really gotten to too many talks about Ein Sof and the realm of possibilities. This idea, essentially, of a rabbit, a magician's hat, and you pull it out, a rabbit, whatever. This cauldron of possibilities, anything is possible. And um, when the seed that Abraham and Sarah were given was planted, the downward spiral was a potential, but it wasn't actualized yet until Adam and Eve decided that they would go and kill the animals. That it wasn't actually actualized yet. And had they rejected that path, had they said, no, we're not going to do that, we wouldn't be here right now having this conversation, because this world would not have fallen to become a contested world. It's great that we get to be here. I know it's hard because of all of the things that are going on, and waking up is a hard experience when you realize that so much that we've been taught, pretty much everything that we've been taught, is an inversion of the truth. And our loved ones maybe don't get it, the people around us don't get it, and it can be a really sad experience. But it's actually really exciting too. Not only do we have the ability to connect with people using this technology that, frankly, the powers that be are planning to use for evil, it has its good things and its bad things, right? We get to connect right now and use it to plant those seeds of truth and understanding that we are gaining, the insight that we are gaining. Especially for me in particular, I can only speak for myself. My awakening experience, a lot of things in 2015 came to me when I woke up to flat earth and the inverts running the world, and just so many different things that I was already kind of, anti-vax at that time, and just kind of trying to be more natural in general. But so many of the things came to me at that time, and other things have come along my path along the way. But the Holy Megillah has really broadened my horizon and awoken, opened my eyes to a lot of greater, deeper spiritual truths. Not only the spiritual truths and more understanding about the realm, the spiritual school that we are in, but also, finding my way back to love and the I am within that is part of that divine spark of Yah. And Yah is love. Yah is being, and, that, again, expansion of existence, consciousness, and bliss. And bliss is part of that. Love is connected to bliss, like being in love, not just in love in a romantic sense, but just being in love with life, in love with all of the beings around us, as opposed to being in hate, in disunity, in animosity, right? We can be in a sphere of vibration, so to speak. And that is how, especially the Nazarenes, would try to approach every situation. Of course, none of us are perfect. Even the most learned of the scholars can stumble. The good book talks about the Christ, those of us of the Christ family that come back into these worlds. Even we make mistakes. Those have graduated the school and come back to help teach others the way. There's possibility for us to stumble as well, and we do, especially being born into this world and born into families that are not part of the Immaculate Conception. Thankfully, not part of the, what's the opposite of Immaculate Conception? The upward spiral being the Immaculate Conception, where you're purifying and trying to be better, and the opposite of that being that downward spiral where every generation is actually getting worse and further away from perfection and the divine plan of Yah. And unfortunately, the default path in this contested world is for us to go down that negative path. It's not just the default for us to spiral up. And even worse, if you were born into one of those families that help rule the world, where they are intentionally trying to, I can only imagine the way that Cain would have raised his children, and even the energy of those children. We read about how when Adam raped Eve, the energy of the child that was attracted to that soul was negative vibration. It's the same concept with the Immaculate Conception, where they're purifying themselves and they're in these higher vibrations. They're singing praises and they're chanting to God and Goddess to attract light into them. Think of the opposite way when it's a very negative situation and the two people involved, there's anger and hatred and the lack of consent. All of that goes into what kind of soul is attracted to that womb. And that's definitely not to say anything to the extent people these days would be like, oh well, if this situation happens, we should end the life of that unborn child. That's not the case. Any child, no matter how they are conceived, can ascend the ladder. There's no default. There's nothing that says that because of your DNA or your blood type, you have to make the wrong decision or you have to do evil, you have to sin. So any child can do good, whether they are good or whether their conception was good or positive or negative, I should say. I don't know, because every child really is a gift. And if we nurture them and treat them as a gift, this world will become a better place. So I just got a time check because in 10 minutes, the prayer meeting starts. And I do apologize again. I have had a long, so many of these projects have been really weighing on me. And so I've been exhausted. And doing the live streams have been something that's like, oh, I'm just so tired. I don't want to do this. So I do apologize. And the end is the light at the end of the tunnel is very close because the deadlines for all of these projects is very close. And so I'm just trying to get things done. But my whole point is that I apologize that I haven't been so consistent with things. And that's not my intent. I do apologize. I love to come here and spend time with you and just, I don't know, be able to talk about the truth of our reality to those with ears to hear and eyes to see. And yeah, cool. Kyle says, hey, hello. You guys might have noticed that I'm actually using a thing on Restream that is called a beta testing thing that is allowing me on YouTube specifically to stream horizontally, but then also supposedly, I actually haven't tried it, but supposedly if you click on my profile picture, you'll be taken to a vertical version of the same reel. So I'm streaming two things at one time right now. When you go onto my YouTube page and then on the lives, it's showing that there's two of the same stream because of that, because one is in the horizontal and one is in the vertical. Really dumb thing because I don't want my stream, just copy and pasted all day long. But anyways, if you have noticed that, let me know how it is working and we'll see if I keep doing it. So David D says that God and Goddess, please help guide us to create a garden paradise. Amen. Hello, Roke James. How are you? Thanks for joining. Mike the Mechanic says hi. Manuel Lara, hello. How are you? David G says, you are a natural prayer leader. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely would not have considered myself a prayer leader. And really, honestly, growing up, let me make sure I'm on the screen. Growing up, prayer was an important part of, my religion and I guess my life in general. But honestly, I remember so much of the prayers was just like, please forgive me of my sins. I have faith that, Jesus will get me to heaven. Cover me in Jesus' blood. All of these things that is like groveling, like desperately praying and hoping from this dark place that God would have mercy on me. And that's so sad. Now, especially after being influenced by the Megillah, Christ's teachings I almost wanted to say chapter 62. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But he talks about prayer and how, the the person who's early on their spiritual path will be like, you know, give me this and please give me this and give me this and give me this and all these, like, give me, help me, all of these things. But the more advanced that you get, it's more like, thank you for this, thank you for that. And even the fact of like thanking them, as in thanking them for things that you are calling into being. So it's totally different than this groveling aspect, my new approach to prayer, essentially, and being able to approach my relationship with God and Goddess not as this desperate, you know the mainstream Bible would have you think that you are a desperate sinner, and there's nothing that you could ever do to get right with God, so Jesus had to come and die for your sins, and the only way that you get to heaven is if you just have faith that that's how it is. And yeah, it's a really crazy belief system when you're on the outside looking in, and it's really sad how misplaced it puts us, because God and Goddess are our mother and father. They love us so much, and they're not sitting there with this tally sheet of like, their judgment and wrath getting ready to. Even the book of Revelation, I know I'm getting short on time, and I'm not even sure if I might be having to run the prayer meeting today. I'm not sure. God and Goddess are there with loving arms, just wanting us to repent. Their love and mercy is is way more than their, like, this whole idea again in Revelation, like the tribulation is God pouring these bowls of wrath out on humanity and like all this stuff. It's like, whoa, that is not the case at all. When you look into the prophecies of the Holy Megillah, these prophecies are, I've mentioned before, they're just based on the natural outcome of the spiral. The natural outcome of the spiral, when Abraham and Sarah planted the seed, everything was spiraling upward. That existence, consciousness, and bliss, just great things, positive upward spiral. Now, because of the downward spiral, because of the influence of Satan and the master brain, the outcome that they are pushing for is this transhuman agenda where humanity is enslaved, the digital ID, Neuralink, all of this digital enslavement leading to you being enslaved light. And so the difference in prophecies we see in the mainstream right now, these demonically influenced groups that are trying to make biblical prophecy happen to, make the Messiah come back, right? And doing all of these evil things and literally trying to manifest this reality. Two different things. They're writing in their scrolls, it's like that's their future. In the Megillah, you don't God and Goddess and the future being good does not depend on all of these evil things coming to pass. We can stop it at any time. It's just telling us the natural end of where you are headed in this future. If you go down this timeline, that's just where this timeline leads to. It's take it or leave it. The choice is ours. So definitely different, and we will get into that in the future. But I'm gonna have to jump off of here because, oh no, David D, that sounds like a good question. How would you stop Bill Gates and people like Bill from continuing to do evil? Let me just Nazarenes don't believe in killing, so how can we stop them? Bill got a pie to the face and then started promoting depopulation. The face pie made them worse. Yeah, well, the Nazarene approach is love and, well, trying to awaken these lost souls to the truth of our reality. They have been deceived. They don't even understand the truth of their reality. That's why they are in the positions that they are in. They've been offered, wealth, being put on a pedestal, all of these things in this world of 666, but it's coming at the cost of their soul. And so as far as an approach to these entities go, for us, on a personal level, the only thing that we should be exuding to any beings is love. Whether you like those persons and what they're doing or not, the energy that you put out is going to karmically come back to you. So even if that person is doing evil, if you go and you put hatred or anger or any of these low vibration energies at them, you have stepped out of your own proper and appropriate alignment. You are now acting in an inappropriate way. So that's going to come back to you. So regardless of what anybody else is doing, what we need to do is to find that centered space, being loving and kind and understanding of them. And yeah, it's a big pill to swallow. It's hard to swallow our human emotions when it comes to seeing evil and having evil done to us and to those that we love. um, so yeah, it's a hard thing, but I think the more that I get into the Nasrian teachings, the more that they are refining me and teaching me that getting involved in that low energy business is not going to help. When we're sending hatred towards these entities, which is by design, right? Bill Gates is not the one that is masterminding any of this. Bill Gates is just a front person. They're Fauci, Bill Gates, even Trump, Biden, Obama's, Clinton's, all of these they're literally actors and actresses on the Truman Show, and they are doing whatever their rules are. So realistically, you're hating a character, which is kind of goofy. Which I guess we all can hate characters or whatever, but it's just not really like, all right, you're just putting on a show. That's not even who you actually are, your role. But yeah, it's more about what we do. So we can maybe discuss this a little bit longer in another episode. Sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear. Well, I guess I'm not sorry, because that's what people need to hear. Whatever they do to us, there, just trust that there is divine retribution for it, and not that we should be like, yeah, I want to see you suffer, right? It's like, I guess I'm taking on a more compassionate way. I want to be more like Lord and Lady Christ, and when people did evil to them, they weren't like, all right, let me go ahead and mark that tally because I'm going to be excited when that person that did me wrong gets it, right? That's not how they were. They were like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They understood that this person, like, not in a mean or degrading way, but if you're just seeing these unawakened souls as children that believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, if they come up and call you dumb and mean, say mean things to you, it's just like, it's water off a duck's back. It's like, oh, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, okay, I love you, kid, like, in a nice way. So, anyways, I got to jump off of here because I'm 1 minute late for prayer meeting. But hey, Dave, I believe they call it the unmaculate deception. Ooh, I like that. Nice one. Cool. David, he says, you're so close. How soon do you think that you'll break the 100 threshold for your Green Lion Army? Well, hopefully soon. In the description is the link for the Green Lion Army Facebook group. I would love for you to join us, not just virtually, but in the future, physically here in Mount Shasta. I will see you tomorrow. I hope that you join the prayer meeting. Unless, and if you don't, then I will see you tomorrow at noon. May God and the goddess bless you.